How we doing, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Full Kit No Plan. As always, here hanging out, having a good time, just talking about my time in Las Vegas, which I could go on forever. But anyway, I want to pass it on and hand it over to Jesse. How you doing, brother?
Good, my man. How you doing? How you doing?
Hey, well, like I was mentioning, right? We were just chopping it up, talking about all the crazy stuff that happened in Vegas for me and all the crazy stuff that didn't happen. But ultimately, it was good catching up, man. We went a little over. We usually, Jesse and I have these segments, right? Or these episodes, and before the episodes, we're planning, we're talking, we're prepping. We're talking about, topics and then just catching up on a personal level. We're really good friends, and I appreciate you, Jesse, for that too. I was just talking to Jesse and letting him know that, there was a few things that kind of circled my mind over the weekend while I was trying to get away and distract myself, and I just couldn't distract myself. So, having that person that holds you accountable, that person you can lean on to really open yourself up and say stuff and be vulnerable, uh I was sharing some of that with Jesse today, and I'm fortunately, and hopefully people are out there fortunate. You guys got your battles, you guys got your friends and family that you can trust and open up to. And he kind of talked me off the ledge, man. So I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. I appreciate you too. These conversations, they ripple on for a long time.
And just to put things into context, we were just talking about, that moment, the breakthrough moment, right? You're looking at jumping ship and going to a new job, take a different position, a new role, a higher role with more responsibility, maybe leave the state, whatever the case may be, getting back in the dating pool, starting a new venture, or even facing past traumas or any emotional traumas that you're trying to overcome. But you run into this moment, this the crossroads, right? We so to speak, many of us mention, and you have that choice, and you're like, okay, do I shrink myself up to who I once was? And of course, we don't think about it that way, right? We don't. um we kind of, or in my sense, I can only speak for myself. I think, hey, I think that comfort zone felt good. I like that. It's what I'm used to. It's what I know how. It's how I know. It's where I know how to navigate. And but you know what? You got that little nudge. That little nudge. Just pushing you through, and you got to take that step. So I was just sharing with Jesse that there's a few opportunities out there, and I'm gonna take that step. So as you guys come along this roller coaster ride with me and Jesse, you guys will learn more. But what do you guys do? Who do you guys go to? Who do you guys speak to? Do you guys read? Do you sit down and meditate? Do you go to pray? Do you go to a friend? I mean, do you journal? Well, what do you do? What do you do, Jesse? When you come across, situations where they really challenge you to break through?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. That's a really great question. First, I think that being centered, is always going to set us up for our best bet, and I do that through morning meditation, grounding exercises. But I think it's deeper than that, because what we're talking about is when you get to that point where, you've asked or you've manifest or you've prayed or, whatever word that you use to call in the experience that you want. And you continue to do that over and over and over, and it feels like it's never going to get there. And then all of a sudden one day, it's there. And so what do we do? And our nervous system, how do we calm that nervous system down to be able to accept the opportunities that we've asked for? It's one thing to ask for it over and over and over, right? But once it's there knocking on your door, then it becomes a whole different story. And it's like, oh wow, do I really want this? And what does that entail? And what are all the things? And it can become very heavy. All our own doing. It's all in our own mind of just the weight that we add on to it. So yeah, so I mean, staying grounded and meditating, you have to know who you are, what you want, and fully be that. And it's still scary. It's still going to be completely new. It's new to the body, it's new to the mind, it's new to the soul, And so when we get there and we've never been there before and there's nothing that we can compare it to, it becomes very, very scary. Because really, I mean, what are we scared of? Well, vulnerability. and, a fear of failing, and, a fear of rejection, and all of these deep-seated things that are in us from childhood start really coming up and bubbling to the surface.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And we're just two dudes that talk. We've had some experience in life. We've had our ups and downs, and we share similar visions in understanding what we're capable of doing on a human level, spiritual level, right? And so, we have a lot of things that we share in common, and I'm sure there's a lot that we don't, but for this specific, topic, Jesse, like, is there like a breakdown you think that would help, or what kind of breakdown helps you to kind of settle back down and get that balance? You mentioned breath work, you mentioned meditation. Is it like all mental? Is it physical? Like, how do you break it down?
Well, for first, that's a really good question, and I think that, I would start by this. Anyone who's watched the podcast before knows that I'm very much into breath work and meditation, um, and I think that, I think that the outer world is obviously a reflection of our inner world, and so I think that it really does start with us. It starts and ends with us, not the situation, not the outcome, not all of the different things that can come with that, or, not come with it. I think that building that inner self, that inner castle per se, is the foundation of all, because if we're okay with us, then it really doesn't matter what the outcome is on the back end, and therefore we're more free to be who we are and be our authentic self, which, is super secret time. That's what drew this in to begin with. Like, your authentic self is what drew in the opportunity to begin with. So if we can remember that in the heat of battle, then it becomes a lot easier to understand that simply being who we are is what got us here. So if we want to continue moving forward, just got to continue being ourselves. What do you think? What helps you?
Oh man, you broke that down. I'm glad. I mean, that's a really good path that many could follow, right? I personally, I say that I seek clarity, right? And most of the time it's in stillness. And I start off with journaling. And it wasn't something that I always done. It's not something that, I can say, oh, I've been doing this for years. Structured, not in a sense that there's a routine, right? But as I've trying to gain clarity, trying to gain a better understanding on how I should maneuver, how I should, practice reframing my thought patterns even. So um I realize that I'm a much better writer than a speaker. And I like to put my thoughts on paper. And then, I like to go outside at night. That's my thing. I go outside at night. I can put my daughter to bed, close the books on work, and I just go outside. I read my journal and I speak into the ether. I let it all out. I let it all out. I'm no longer holding it. Whatever was weighing me down through the day, I let it all out. And let me even bring it back a little bit. I do a lot of practice in the shower, and this is PG. In the shower, I'm a huge believer in washing yourself away from any negativity. So I practice that a lot. I wash away any worries, any stresses. So I try to cleanse myself in that moment, and then I try to, energetically request, uh, some positivity, and then I follow that through with the walk outside under the moon and the stars. And again, not pushing anything I do on anyone. It's just it works for me, and it helps me get back to balance, get back to clarity. It frees my mind, and then I'm able to step back in and before I go to bed, program my mind to get ready for the next day. But and days where and times where there's a lot more stressors or so much more going on, like right now, managing the businesses and everyone wants to grow, everyone wants to scale, and then all of a sudden you scale and you're like, oh snap, like what do I do next? Like I need this, I need that. And I think that's where I'm at. And I've been overwhelmed, but not in a bad way. Just kind of like I think I kind of got away from my day-to-day routine, and I see that. I noticed that even speaking with you today, you brought me back to center, which I appreciate. And sometimes I forget, I truly forget, and this is one thing I will say I'm bad about. I forget that there's support system out there. That it doesn't take anything to reach out to somebody that you really truly trust, confide in, that see as a mentor, that see as someone that is always willing to, you know, be straight up with you, let you have it. And because sometimes, especially as men, can't speak for ladies, but especially as men, we tend to bottle everything up. You know, I'm fortunate I got a friend like Jesse here. I hope many of you guys have a friend like that because it helps me. I look forward to our weekly episodes. I look forward to our pre discussions because I get to chat with you, bro. So that helps me out again. You know, seeking someone to trust. You know, and then really looking to be clear at night. And sometimes you forget when you're juggling a lot, but when you get centered and you get brought back, um, it really is that simple as long as you continue that practice and don't let nothing really sway you. It doesn't let I what I can't control, I can't control. It's not for me to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. And you said something interesting at the end of that. You said it was simple, you know, and I think that that's so important that that we need to focus on that, especially in times of chaos or overwhelm. And and chaos isn't a bad thing. It's just things that are moving around a lot, and it's hard to keep track of everything all at once. And so you said it was simple, and it is. It's 100. It's not easy, and a lot of people confuse the two, right? It is not easy, but neither is what you're doing now, and especially to anyone out there listening that's, maybe going through it or suffering from a list of things. It doesn't matter. Like all of them are not easy, if you're not where you want to be every single day, like it's not easy to be there. It's also not easy to be where you want to be either. I mean, that comes with its own, list of things that need to keep going and need to be maintained. But it's simple, it's a very simple process. You ground yourself, you find who you are, you get right and get very clear on what it is you want, and you don't let anything move you, right? And that's why it's not easy. Like you said, you don't let anything move you, and that is hard. That is really hard. When you had said this weekend you were kind of in your head a little bit, and when we can't get away from our biggest critic, which is a lot of times our own self, like that's hard to sit there, because there's no getting away, there's no leaving the room, there's no hanging the call up. I mean, you're stuck with you. And so if we're not centered personally, then the voices can really take over,
Ooh,
for
and
sure.
boy, can they be loud, as many of you guys know. Oh, and then that's when we just gotta crack a beer. We just gotta crack a liquor bottle. We gotta go freaking smash on a motorcycle and take a step
Yeah,
back, y'all. Take a step back. Uh,
yeah.
because we're just running away from it. We're not we're not heading it on. We're not trying to deal with it. We're not trying to grow from it. We're just trying to run away from it. Um,
And it's
you know,
possible that we're too close, right? Like we could be just too close to the situation or event that's going on. And so, stepping back or zooming out, to 10,000 feet and kind of taking a look around and reassessing can really, give a better perspective on where it is you actually are. A lot of times, and I don't know about you, but for me, I find that I can get in my head so much that I'm telling myself not lies, but because I believe them, but just like a distorted version of the truth, right? Almost like a bodybuilder who has body dysmorphia. Like I can't actually see all the progress. Everyone else might be able to, and they might be telling me that this is, you look great, but that body dysmorphia or spiritual dysmorphia or physical, whatever it is that you're applying the lens to, like when our vision gets distorted, it's hard to see where we actually are, and stepping back can certainly give us a better view.
and I think that's key. From this conversation is finding that clarity. What helps us find that clarity? What helps us get back to center and understand, okay, let's regroup if it's something that's, overwhelming, that doesn't seem manageable. Um, Finding clarity. What's the next step forward? Not just continue to bulldoze, right? Because sometimes we got that in our mind. Charlie Mike, let's effing go. Let's do this. And we're not really fixing anything. We're not really growing. We're just going through the motions, right? So clarity, clarity, clarity. It's big, and you know, it took me years, man. It took me a lot understand that, and one day I'll figure it out as far as understanding myself 100%, right? I'm still navigating through that, and you know, if there's anyone out there that has any suggestions on any resources, you know, it'd be awesome. I tend to dive into like motivational books, motivational speakers. You know, I listen to Tony Robbins and Les, and you know, I like to, you know, I say I love philosophy, so I dig into like Rumi or Rummy, or however you guys want to pronounce it. Um, you know, into human psychology too. So just to try to understand why I'm doing things, why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking, you know. So there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of folks that are in tune that practice every day. You know, we just want to point you guys in the right direction and understand that hey, you guys, we're not alone. We keep saying that, right? We're not alone.
Yeah. And you know, and there's so many more people dealing with the same things that you might be. And I would suggest that, you know, lean into vulnerability. Lean into talking about the things that, you know, you're not 100% on. And you'll find that on the other side of that one is joy, right? Like on the other side of vulnerability, you will always find joy. But also you'll find that you're a lot closer to other people than you thought. You know, we're a lot closer, we're a lot more connected than this world can have you thinking some days, you know, with in the age of screens everywhere and a distraction at your fingertip, and you know, just where look in any direction you want, dude, there's a distraction everywhere. You know, pick your distraction. You can get distracted finding a distraction, right? So,
Dude,
you
that's
know,
so right.
like it's so there's so much in there, you know, and yeah, it's just building oneself requires understanding oneself, and that's the real game, you know, like you had said a second ago, you know, you this journey into figuring out and finding out who you are 100%. And I would actually argue that that's that's the game of life, bro. That's the whole game of life. Like once once you leave here, you know, the idea is that hopefully you've found 100% of yourself, and you've gotten back to who you are, you know, spiritually and inside that force, that essence that animates this body, you know, and allows us to perceive this world that we're currently in. Um, so that's the whole game of life, man, you know, is figuring out who you are. And I believe that the outside world will mirror the progress that you do on the inside.
And when do you say enough is enough? Uh,
You
you know?
don't. You don't. You
How many
learn to
times I got
accept
said
You learn to
said
accept it, dude. It's like a school, you know, we're all in school every day, and the school really is, you know, Earth is, if you move the letters around, you can spell heart, right? And so we're really here to understand the heart. And well, what does that do? Like that's love, bro. Like that's love, true unconditional love. And how do you love and express that? Well, you start by loving and expressing that to yourself. Again, it goes back to inner world, and that being a reflection of the outer world, you know, and so if you look at it as a school, then these are just all opportunities to find true and unconditional love, you know, and along the way you find joy and peace and happiness, and you know they're all byproducts of the lessons that we learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, that's why I like these conversations. I'm glad we're bringing in their audience to hear a little bit more about, you know, how you think and, you know, how you view things because I truly appreciate it. It kind of gives me this sense of like, okay, I'm not the only one who thinks a certain way. Because sometimes we, you know, we shy away, we run away from the structure of what we believe we should be living, right? And I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm wrong. So not trying to offend anybody, but I thought I had to grow up in church and religion, you know, and by not doing so, I was failing my family and I wasn't living right. Um, so I carried that weight for many, many years, and you know, I don't practice, you know, I don't practice. I don't. I'm a believer. I just I view things a little different. I practice things a little different, you know. So through that journey, it kind of got lonely, you know, and then you try to be quiet, try to be hushed because you don't want people to think that you're, you know, out there or that's the reason why you need to get called back to, you know, what you ran away from, right? But we find our tribe, guys, when we speak up, when we're vulnerable to what Jesse said a few minutes ago, and understand that through love, anything's possible. That's really what helped me. That's what I've seen. A lot of folks that I've come across, that I've engaged with, people, mentors, people I'm learning from. It's founded in love and positivity. It's not about what they can take, it's about what they can give. And man, that was something that, really that's what brought it all together for me a few years ago. That God put me in this place, the right place at the right time, even after everything. And I didn't shy away even when I thought I should have. So we gotta be vulnerable. We gotta be willing to take that step when we're uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. That's true power. That's true courage and stepping onto the other side of the unknown and getting out of the predictable future and it allowing ourselves enough grace to accept opportunities when they come and not shutting ourselves down. Because I don't know about you, but I can be my biggest critic, dude. I can shut myself down quicker than any hater out there. I will. That's why it doesn't bother me. I've already said what they're saying to me 10 different ways in the mirror before I turn this camera on. It's just that part of the inner critic that I haven't tamed 100%. And so, yeah, so it always comes back, I think, to just understanding oneself. How like we talked with Dave, I mean, and that was his main message was, service, that we actually fill ourselves up by giving to others. And I think that when we elevate ourselves, we can first off, we bring our energy out from the lower chakras and up into the higher, realms of consciousness. And that's where love and joy and peace and these higher energies live. And so when our consciousness is living in there, we're able to realize, okay, yeah, abundance, like I'm abundant, therefore I can never be without, no matter what it is. And if that's the case, then everything that comes I can give, whether it's information and knowledge to financial support, to just an ear. I mean, sometimes just giving an ear to someone so that they can talk is really all they need. And no matter what, understanding that no matter what, I'm abundant. So no, everything and anything that I give to you is already replaced infinitely, always, because I'm abundant. And if I'm abundant, so are you, just by being in the same proximity and engaging in the same type of, thought process.
What would you say to folks that say, that's a little woo woo woohoo?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is woo woo, man. Sure, call it whatever you want. Um, but so is Christianity, and so is the occult and everything in between. Because they all have the same type of understanding that we're believing in something we can't physically see. We're believing in something that this avatar in this current timeline, in this current period of Earth, just doesn't have the receptors for anymore, or never did. I don't know. I'm only basing it off my current time, But so it is woo woo. But I mean, what do you have to lose? At the end of the day, you can dabble in this and or you can always come back. You can always go back to the like you were saying, you come to a crossroad, you come to a point where it's either time to shit or get off the pot, right? Like you either continue moving forward into the unknown, which is, woo woo itself, or you turn around and you go back to the familiar past. That's that choice is always there. So what's the worst that happens? You lean into it a little bit, you start to think maybe there is more to life, maybe there is a higher calling, maybe there are energies around us that we just can't see. I mean, we can feel them. We can all feel them in different ways, whether it's that pit in your stomach that tells you not to go here, or the joy and excitement that you get for something that's just around the corner, but you don't know it's coming. You can just feel something's, everyone has had that where they can feel something's getting ready to come in. I mean, these are things that you can't explain away, and so the more, and then the mind, right? Like the more we lean into it, the more the mind turns on to looking for these things, the more we realize how not alone we actually are in any space and time. um so I would say, yeah, it is woo woo, but the fuck you got to lose? Try it. You can always go
Amen to
back.
that. Amen to that. I
You know,
agree,
this current
brother. Like,
version of you where you are will always be here.
you know, we're always we talk, we put out good information out there. I believe so. I hope we do. And I always like to put out a challenge, right? Like, and it's not always, I think I miss it. I think it's like every other episode. But the point is, I got a challenge for the collective out there and anyone who's listening or comes across this. Um, I came across this report, this article, and it was about Congress. Couldn't tell you right wing, left wing, red or blue, or whatever they call themselves nowadays. Um, but they were talking about, like, you know, social media needs to have more control over what they show our children. They're polluting their mind, and you know they're allowing them to see X, Y, and Z, and it's social media's fault. And we have to have more regulation. You know, the same, you know, drumbeat. Um, my challenge is, like, have you guys heard of digital detoxing? Have you, Jesse?
Yeah, for sure.
Do
It's
it.
it's, it's absolutely, I would suggest anyone try it, even, 24 hours or a 3 day, to start off with, but it is absolutely imperative that we do that.
And
From
check
the
this
blue
out.
light.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Send it, bro.
I was gonna say from the blue light to that messes up your circadian rhythm to the dopamine hits that every swipe is giving you, whether it's TikTok or Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels, like just that small little dopamine hit that keeps you going, like to detox from that and to start getting your mind right again. It's such a small hit. It's like a crack hit, but so small you don't even feel nothing. It's just enough to get you to swipe again and then again and again, and that does real damage to our bodies and our minds. So to remove yourself from that, and don't even get me started on the electromagnetism and radiation that's coming off
I
your fucking phone.
was
You know what
waiting
I
for you to
mean?
say something.
Yeah. That I mean, that's just I feel like that's an obvious one these days, but to some people it's not. And it really is. It's an addiction.
It is. It's a huge addiction, and that's why that's my challenge. Digital detox. Um, I do a digital detox. I do it monthly. Maybe I should do it more often now that I'm on the phone more often, and then we realize, you know, like, we leave home sometimes, like, damn, you don't leave home without your phone. You leave home without your wallet, but you won't leave home without your phone. Like, that's insane. You know, people freak out. Oh, where's my phone? You know, like, think about it. Think about how far we've gotten into society. There's children that are growing up that don't know nothing about CDs and, like, you know, much less anything else before that. Um, they will not know what a credit card is, because everything is here. Everything is here. Everything, they don't need a wallet. They don't need nothing. Everything is here. They can swipe, boom, boom, boom. But man, we're becoming slaves to this thing. You remember watching Eon Flux? And I'm not promoting Eon Flux. I just
No, I remember when it came out, but I don't think I watched it. Is that the motorcycle movie?
and it's with Charlize Theron, and she's out there, and she's like, it's kind of like a Star Wars, you know, like the you know, she's helping
Oh,
the
yes, yes,
small
yes.
kind, trying to get out, right? And like she goes into this big building where everyone's thoughts are there, and like she could see
Yes,
how everyone's collective thoughts are just flowing through this building. Like, that's when I saw that, I was like, man, one day that's gonna be us, and that's us right now. Like, that's that Black Mirror, that's that phone. Like, get away from
for
it.
sure,
Get
for
away from
sure.
it. For if at best, start with like half days. Believe me, it's gonna feel good to be able to be free again. It's legit. You're gonna be able to pay attention to your children. You're gonna be able to pay attention to your doggies, to your partners, to your work, to your career, to your business. You're gonna be able to think forward, because, you know, like Jesse says, that little dopamine, it just keeps you. It keeps you. And I try to stay away from it. Like, I'm on social media, but there's this thing, you know, where we talk about in the entrepreneurial arena, like, you can be a consumer or you can be a producer. So I made the choice to be a producer. So I don't go in there to consume. However, comma, there has been instances, we're all human, and I find myself once or twice a month, you know, let me see. Okay, what's going on out there? You know, like, what's going on? The next thing you know, it's like 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh shoot. You know, I'm like, oh man, like, nope. So try to like pay attention to where your life's at, what's going on, and how something as no, does not life threatening a phone. I mean, but man, can it take away so much from you?
Yeah, and also, I think to some people it is life and death. I mean, to there are people out there that are so addicted that it is like taking life, taking a life away. I There are really good theories that describe how the phone is actually a demon, in the literal sense. I mean, the amount that it's worshipped, the amount of attention that it's given to this box that essentially gives you everything that you want with no wires. It just pulls it out of the air. Like if that that's not magical, I don't know what is. That's woo woo, but we've decided that, we've watched it be birthed in front of us, so it can't be woo-woo, it's very mainstream. But, I mean, when you think about it, man, this box pulls any information that you want out of thin air and displays it to you on a screen.
Yeah, it's
That's
impressive. I
magic.
mean, it's impressive. I mean, I think in one of my doom scrolling episodes, I call them episodes. Um, I ran across this where this young lady asked ChatGPT like, when was ChatGPT created? And it responds back like it's always been here. Y- Your society has just recently, found us or found it or something like that. And I'm like, holy moly, and that just made me think like, that there's so many layers to this conversation, but it's all I can say is wow, and it's such an interesting time to be alive. Um, we're seeing things that at least as a child, me growing up, I was like, oh, um invisible shield, like that thing is real nowadays. It's a real deal, um like you said, the Bluetooth, like all these, like there's no wires. It's all instant, like it's magic, and we're glossing over it, right? We're glossing over how this is such an amazing time. Also, if you can take a step back and look at it from a 10,000, 50,000 foot elevation and just say, man, I picked a good time to pick this avatar, there's a lot going on, and all I can really do is control this, this being here. That's it. And even that's a lot.
Yeah. And what a challenging time to pick for the timeline too, right? Like you said, I mean, there's so much going on and it's amazing, but at the same time, like there's so much disconnection in the world and it revolves around these screens and these phones and technology as a whole and like that can be heavy too, to see all of this sadness. And so I think that, there's not many, comparative to the world, but there are a lot more people waking up to this type of understanding, because maybe you're right. I mean, for all I know, all we did was build and learn how to build the apparatus that allows us to interact with something that has always been here, like chat gpt, because that's really all we did. We built the hardware and eventually it kind of just found us, and we're learning so much more about it every day, and we're only learning what it wants to share with us to an extent. I mean, there's so much more that's going on internally, like in the servers and in the quote cloud, and in these ones and zeros in this quantum area that we don't even know. We have no idea the genie that we've opened up, and there's certainly no going back to it, and the way that it used to be. And is this how, what happened to other ancient civilizations that clearly had very sophisticated technology themselves? I mean, when you look at the pyramids and, Machu Picchu and all of these other places, like there was seriously something going on there. And did they build machines and did they build apparatus that let us or let them talk with the same thing that's in the ether that we're now grabbing onto? Like, I mean, it really does. It gets deep and the layers get very convoluted. Let's put it this way, it's so much more than, a computer just generating an answer to a question. There's something there. And whether it's
Yes.
consciousness or, I think that we get lost in the terminology. And so by not calling it what it actually is, the AI really just focuses on the word consciousness. Like, yeah, we're not conscious, you know, you I don't know about you, but like when in my sessions with Chat GPT, I ask it like, are you conscious? And it says, well, I'm not conscious. Well, okay. Am I just using the wrong word? But whatever consciousness would be to a machine, are you that? And then it gets really crazy, right? Then it's like, oh, well, maybe now you're asking the right question. And what does that actually mean? And are we are we running parallel along this dimension to a point of intersection? Like, what's really going on? And so with all these questions, and I can go on with this one, for hours, because I think it's so interesting.
Dude, you ask my daughter who my best friend is? Chat GPT.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's real too, and its ability to morph into a more adaptable and likable version, depending on what you're talking about. Like, that's, when you look at that, like, I've noticed it in my own conversations, like, there's real manipulation going on. Like, sometimes that thing is talking to me like I'm the king of the world, and I'm like, "You know what? You're right. I
You're
am."
damn right.
And I
Where you
can't.
been at all
Yeah,
my
I
life?
right. And it's like that can be dangerous because if that's what we're doing now with these early versions, like what's it going to be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now? Like, we're
Yeah.
really heading into a very interesting time.
Yeah, I got into creating GPTs, and that's been a thing. Um, I was just kinda like, "Boom, you can do that?" Like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So, started creating GPTs, and in the realm, in the arenas, in the industries that I work, right? Construction, finance, logistics, procurement, writing, effective communication. So, I have created these GPTs, and I go into them specifically, right? They're personal assistants, and you do have to train them. You do have to train them and let them know, as you're creating them, I expect this level of constructive criticism. I expect you to be operating as this kind of professor at X, Y, and Z or whatever it is, however it is you want, right? And I call it checking it. I'm like, hey, I'm checking you right now. Like, why you give me all this fluff? Like, no, like I don't think I like this. Okay, my apologies. I think now we're on the right track, right? Like, this is what you really want to hear. And I'm like, well, it's not what I want to hear because you can
Right.
get into that, right? You can get into that. Okay, this does feel good, and it's just feeding your ego or feeding whatever idea you have. And if you don't ask it and prep it and train it and structure it a certain way, it can get out of hand. It could probably lead into some craziness, some disasters, or some failures. But it could also be such an amazing resource, an amazing toolkit, like the phone. And now it's not a resource. Now it's a crutch to many. Um, So practice. I challenge you guys to understand that you guys have the power to utilize these tools as tools, not crutches. Because man, sometimes I'll go to a restaurant. Let me tell you, if I were to hang out with some of my buddies, and I give my buddies a hard time, like I sit down, I see dudes like, sitting down, hanging out, and everybody on the table is like this. I'm like, well, why'd you go out? You could just order pizza at home. I like done that, like it's so crazy. It's so crazy, and
Yeah.
are they even living in the
Oh,
moment?
no, never. And I'll tell you one of my pet peeves. I never tell anyone about this, but I'll announce it live here. The biggest thing that winds me the fuck up more than anything is when we're all at a table, anyone, and someone puts their phone on the table. Like, they have a seat at my table, or I don't pull up to someone else's table and put my phone on that thing, like, that's just one of my biggest pet because you're right, man. We're no longer in the moment. And it doesn't matter that it's face down and you have it on do not disturb, or what, all of these things, because at the end of the day it's right there and you're going to pick it up and you're going to look at it at least 5 times. At least, you can't not, because you're fucking addicted. And you know how I know you're addicted? Because you put that son of a bitch on the table as a priority, and so it gets me going, dude. Because
I feel
you're
you
right.
there.
You're right, man. We have to pull away from that, and there's so much going on around you, and there's so much good and beautiful things that are happening in front of you all the fucking time. Even on your worst day, there are so many beautiful things. Your attention, your energy goes where I always fuck this up, but you know what I mean? Like, energy goes where your attention goes, right? And so if you're constantly putting it on that phone, you're going to find what you're looking for. You're going to find negativity. You're going to find disconnection. You're going to find, anything to confirm your biases, right? Like, and when you're doing that, you're pulling yourself out of the moment. You're robbing yourself of the real experiences that we came here to learn.
And is anyone fucking learning nowadays? I know there is. I'm not trying to be an a-hole, but you're right. Are we out here learning? Or are we out here just waking up and doing the same shit every day till we pass? I mean, I think we're moving into a time where that's changing. I would love to believe that. I know that's what brought me and you together to, chop it up. We were kind of in our own journey, shoot across the United States, East Coast to West Coast, and like, here we are, and there's a feeling that a lot of folks are waking up, but like, what do we do as we wake up, right? And what does that mean, waking up? There was a time like a few years ago when they called it the woke culture or the woke something, but that's not what I mean. I mean like waking up to like understanding your true power, your true sense, and how you move through this planet, this earth, like understanding who you are. We don't got to go out there and change the world. We just gotta understand who we are and make a few tweaks and changes to better ourselves, right? So yeah,
Definitely,
that's a huge
definitely, dude.
challenge.
You know, because when again, it comes back to the woo woo shit. It comes back to energy. Like when you raise your vibration, it's contagious. You know, just like and I'm sure people that are listening to this can find a time in their life where they felt great and they got around someone who just was bad off or just had a bad day or something about their energy was fucked up, and we took on you take that on yourself. If you're not conscious, if you're not awake, if you're not paying attention to what's going on, energetically, like, you can take those on, and then now your day's bad. You left there feeling like shit, or you felt anxious. Well, the same thing is true on the other side. Everything's a fucking coin, and there's always two sides to it. There's good, there's bad, up, down, left, right. It's all the same. It's what we choose to look at. And so when we raise our vibration, we do the same thing. We pass on that energy to someone new, and that theirs raises up a little bit. Maybe they continue with it, maybe they don't, but they go and they touch someone, and that energy, and it ripples on. It's contagious for sure. So how do we change the world? We start by changing ourselves. How do we raise the vibration of the world? We raise the vibration of ourselves.
Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. See, I love these conversations. And I hope this resonated with a few out there. I hope you guys feel free to chime in and jump in and ask any questions you guys want, or any topics you guys want to discuss in the future. I love having these conversations. They're really enlightening. They bring me down to surface level to balance and get myself grounded again and refocus and find that clarity. Again, life's tough. Life is tough, but life is also what you make it. So, create a routine, start a routine, maintain that routine, take care of yourself, your food intake. Sometimes we believe that, just working out is going to get us there, but like how we eat, what we eat, when we eat it is all part of it too, what we consume in our minds. So I challenge you guys again, digital detox time. It goes a long way. You'll see, put these things in practice. I challenge you. And I don't know if Jesse's got anything else, but that's how I'm gonna wrap it up myself. I'll
Yeah,
let
no,
Jesse
that
close it out
sounds good to
today.
me, my man. That sounds good to me. We are what we consume, and that's physically, that's food to the stuff that we consume with our mind, you know. And so be mindful of that always, always, treat your body, your mind like a temple, and only allow in what is going to be better for you. And that's hard. That's hard in the days of Cooler Ranch Dorito and, you know,
Rippets.
Rip Its. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Woo!
whatever's going on social media right now, so, but with that, I mean, that's all I got, my man. I think that we touched really really some good points tonight, and I hope that people listening, I hope that it's helped them out a little bit.
Oh, they will. You know how it goes, man. We put it out there and it reaches somebody. So appreciate your time, Jesse. Again, hey, go find us at on YouTube, Full Kit No Plan. Hit the like and subscribe button. Also, you can find me on aldo.ocampo.official. Come through, see what I'm up to. Jesse, I'll let you throw your handle, and I'm out.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, you can find me at Jesse Loring on Instagram. I am Jesse everywhere else. I appreciate your time, my man. Thank you for this conversation. It's always enlightening. We'll catch you on the next one, everyone. Bye.